So welcome everyone to our March KC Coalition for Digital Inclusion meeting. So we always start every meeting with our mission and vision. I'm Leslie Scott. I'm the KC Digital Drive Digital Inclusion Program Manager. I think I know everyone, but just wanted to introduce myself so you know who's talking to you. And so our vision is that every citizen and household in the Kansas City metropolitan area has access to the internet, the equipment needed to use it, and the skills needed to take advantage. And then our mission is to facilitate collaboration among organizations and initiatives working to bridge the digital divide in order to maximize the resources for the greatest impact. And I just wanted to make sure, and I can't see you all, so could somebody tell me that you are actually seeing the slides?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, so I think everyone's a member who's on the call, but in case anybody's joined and isn't, you can certainly join at digitalinclusionkc.org/join. Membership is free, so just a quick little form to fill out, and you're in. So at this time, I'm wondering, is anyone new on the call who's not presenting? No? Okay, well, we'll move along then. This is our agenda for today. So we'll have some member spotlights from PCs for People and WeCode KC. Thank you both for being here to give us insight into the work you all are doing. And then we're going to dive into a roundtable discussion about net inclusion, which happened at the beginning of February. And then hear from anyone who has any news. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and stop my share. And Greg, you want to go first?
Yes, ma'am. That's fine with me. Hello, or good morning, everyone. My name is Greg Smith. I work with PCs for People. Um, our company, we kind of have two sides to the company. We do IT waste recycling. So if you have any like old laptops, desktops, IT equipment, servers, everything that's associated with IT, we'll come and collect that for you all, no charge. Um, and and um, and on the opposite side of that, on the other side of the spectrum, every laptop that we collect, every PC that we collect is refurbished. If we can, they're refurbished and reallocated to low-income, underserved communities. So we have three tiers of laptops. If you know anyone that needs them, we have a $50 tier, a $100 tier, and a $150 tier. Essentially, all the person has to do to qualify is be on some type of government assistance or be under the poverty threshold for income. Or be over, I think, like 65, a certain age threshold as well. They are qualified to get one of our PCs, and we're doing that to try to bridge the gap in the digital space. As far as we know that a lot of people in the underserved communities don't have PCs or even phones and stuff like that to do simple things as far as like filling out applications and stuff like that, trying to even be able to get a Lyft ride to get to their doctor's appointments and stuff like that. So we're trying to do our as much as we can in our space to give back to the community and make sure that they're able to connect to the digital world and things of that nature. We also have the Wi-Fi hotspots that we offer to the community as well that I believe is an initial cost of like $45 and the service is like $15 a month for 5G Wi-Fi service. So even if they don't have a laptop and they just have a cell phone with no service, they can use that as a alternative means to going to get expensive cell phone coverage and stuff like that. So we're located at 518 Santa Fe Drive right down there in the West Bottom. So if you all want to ever stop by, do a quick little tour, see what we're doing there in our facility, or if you have some stuff you want to drop off, feel free to stop by. We're there from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday through Friday for donations, or if you just, like I said, if you want to stop by and check out the facility, see what we're doing, you're more than welcome to stop by. But I think that's pretty much for us right now. I know if you ever come out to any of the on dumpster days, you will see me and my crew there collecting with, Leslie. So if you ever want to come and hang out with us one of those days as well, feel free. We'll love I would love to meet you guys in person. So that's pretty much it for me. If anybody has any questions, I take those right now as well.
Great. Oh, Lena.
Yeah, hi, good morning. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. I'm from JVS, so I used to work with Arash, and Arash used to have some partnership with you, I think. And I
Okay.
would like to refresh this partnership because he's not with us anymore. So I
Okay.
would love to establish something with you. Yeah.
Yeah, but love to. I will. I can get your information from Leslie possibly, and we can get that
Yeah.
tied together. But we'll love
Thank
that.
thank
And
you.
I'll put my email and my phone number in the chat here too, so shortly, so everybody can have that as well.
Yeah,
Thank
you read my mind, Greg.
I would like to connect as well. I'm with WeCode KC and I'll be speaking next, but we're inside a De La Salle school, and I think this would be really great for the families that are at the school. And so I have some engagement opportunities coming up that it would be good for you guys to do you usually come in and table or set up
Yeah.
for engagement? Okay, perfect.
We can, and with you saying that, it made me it reminded me of something. If you all have organizations that need like a bulk order of computers, 10 plus or whatever the case may be, and you may not have the funding, we also have a department that works on grants and stuff like that. So I can put you in connection with them, and then they'll find funds for you all to possibly. We just got a organization 45 laptops, and I think they only paid like 25% of the cost or whatever the case may be. So if you in a situation where you need a bulk order or a lot of laptops or PCs even as well, at one time, we can work on getting that for you as well. So
Greg,
Hey, Greg, this is. Oh,
go
go
ahead,
ahead, Leslie. You
Aaron.
may be going where I was going, but I would love. This is Aaron with KC Digital Drive. I think it would be great if you could just give us kind of an overall org update and Kansas City market presence update. I talked to Casey a little bit when I was in Chicago, so we might get into that in our net inclusion panel. But we've had a bit of staff turnover with PCs for People locally.
yeah.
And I think just kind of talking about what your role is and what the trajectory is, and maybe, you guys have had some turnover at the national level too. I think that would be really, really useful to hear.
Gotcha. Yeah. So, as he speaks on a national level, we did just lose our president or CEO founder, Casey. So we're in the transition period of trying to find a new CEO. We just hired a new CFO, I believe a new COO. So, things are kind of changing company wide. Not really the um, processes and what we do as far as collecting IT waste and stuff like that, and things of that nature. We are trying to get away from the wording of retail stores and selling and stuff like that. So because we're trying to be more driven as far as just community giving back to the community. So we're trying to change our the way people or the way we present as far as we don't want to we are nonprofit, so we don't want to seem like anything that we're doing is for profit. So a lot of the wordage and verbiage around that is changing. Here at the local level, yeah, we went through over the last year, we went through a lot of turnover in the warehouse and stuff like that. I'm here. This is actually will be my year anniversary here in a week or so. So it's a lot of turnover, but things has been trending in the right direction with the previous crew that we had there. They weren't following the NAID AAA certification process that we follow as far as getting um, certificates of destruction out to our clients and things of that nature, and making sure that we were just following proper protocols under the NAE AAA our guidelines. So we've been really working on cleaning that up and making sure we're following those things. And as of late, we have been able to get everything cleaned up with that and fall perfectly within the guidelines. We got our typically we were getting certificates of destructions out typically between 15 and 25 days. With For a while, it was taking us about 60 while we were cleaning that stuff up, but we're back down into that time frame of where we're supposed to be now. But yeah, so I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah, we a lot of new faces, a lot of new people there at the location. But things are trending in the right direction. Like I said, we cleaned up a lot of things in the warehouse. It was out of order. A lot of the processes were out of order, just a lot of junk and stuff like that. But we were able to come in there and get a lot of things cleaned up and have everything transitioning and flowing smoothly at the moment. So uh, I don't know if that, like I said, answers your question in particular, though.
Yeah, I think it does. Go ahead, Aaron.
Nope. That was. I mean, I think it's been. I think Tom's on the call. Tom Esselman was at PCs for People, and it's been a couple years since he left. So I think during that interim time, in particular, some of that stuff that you're talking about was. I know was just tricky to keep staffed. So I think that's.
Yeah.
What wasn't necessarily asking about that, but is your title? I know in the past they've had like a community impact manager and a operations manager, or something like that. They had kind of two different. What is the like role assignment in the market
So
look like right
I'm
now?
essentially they call us the enterprise production manager, basically account manager. I'm responsible for calling everyone to collect the IT waste to make sure that it's going into the proper channels as opposed to the landfill. If you see me, I'm more so on the collection side, not more so on the community impact side. The company has transitioned from having a community impact manager in each location to now having a community impact manager just for each region. And that's the person that that essentially be responsible for creating those connections as far as getting the bulk orders, or if you need us to come out and um, do things at your facilities or in your community, that would usually be the person that you want to connect with as far as community outreach and doing things within the community. I was playing that role for a while, just as we transitioned and trying to figure out what we were trying to do. At first, they were trying to find another community impact manager for our facility, but just decided to go with regional impact managers. So I kind of fell back from that now, but at the street level, I still get out in the community to try to establish those connections for that regional community impact manager. And prior to that, we didn't have an operations manager as well. So now we have an operations manager in-house. So as far as the C-suite locally, we're all staffed up there. Um, yeah.
That's
So
great. Yeah. No, thank you. Appreciate it.
So I have a couple questions. How is it going with getting donated devices, like the decommissioned devices, maybe from corporations, like local governments? Like, are you seeing a sufficient supply of those locally?
yeah, so we have a partnership with the local city, the city of Kansas City. So they're pretty frequent with us. We have a lot of relationships with the local hospitals and stuff like that. So we're pretty busy. As far as my market, we're actually in the top three as far as hitting our weight goals every month. I'm responsible with collecting about 55 to 60,000 pounds of IT waste each month. So I'm usually I'm 98% of my goal over the year. So which is up about 30% over the year from 2024 to 2025. So everything is going well there. I am trying to find, with us having so many legacy clients, I am having more difficulty finding new clients and stuff like that. So, and that's where I'm actually Leslie comes in because she's able to tie me in with a lot of people that I wouldn't even would have been on my radar. So I love the partnership with Leslie as well. But yeah, everything is going well in that facet. And of course, like you said, like I said earlier, we got those collections events coming up in which I always end up meeting a couple of new clients there as well. So, um, and it's a little bit difficult. We had construction going on down there in the West Bottom, so it was a little bit more difficult for people to make it down to our facility. But if you, like I said, if you have like small donations, we are open still. On the website, it says that we're closed for retail right now due to that construction. But if you have donations, we still are open to accept donations at our facility at 518. I put that in the chat too, but 518 Santa Fe Street downtown. So things are going well in that facet.
And people can just order off the website and have it shipped right to their house, right?
Correct. Yep.
Or their organization.
Yeah, and if it's local enough, we actually, myself or one of my coworkers, will bring it out to you in our little
Okay.
sprinter van too.
My other question was around your workforce. Are you doing anything, any collaborations with any of the training programs around town to get people in to work on refurbishing or recycling the devices?
So that I've been in conversations. I don't know if you ever heard of a place called Arts Tech, KC.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to establish a relationship with them, which I'm gonna try to connect the community impact manager with her now, but because they train up individuals there, youth to do IT refurbishing and IT just repairs and stuff like that, and
Mhm.
so I've been trying to create a pipeline from them to us that to get them employed. We actually had two people hired from them over to PCs for People, but unfortunately, we only can staff so many people. So
Right.
I have been just trying to create a program to where the kids there can come to our facility. Ever so often and see how we operate and wipe the computers and probably get some training and stuff like that. But yeah, so I've been trying to also find other organizations that could take on their kids as well, but that's
Okay.
further out.
Yeah. No, I was thinking about WeCode and Perscolas and just the different places that maybe you might be able to get folks from. So okay. Well, anybody else have any questions? Are the offices available for walk-in? Dante asks.
Like, is our office available for walk-in?
Yeah.
Yeah, like just to come in and to check out what we have for retail or either to do a donation. Yeah, yeah, just come and ring the doorbell. Yeah, yeah. So if
Okay.
you just come and ring the doorbell, somebody will be there to answer.
All right. What other questions? Anyone else?
One thing I didn't answer that you asked though, we are equipped with the 26-foot box truck, so we for our pickups, our drivers able to come in. We do complete white glove service, so we are able to um, collect all the computers, put them in boxes. We can unhook them if we need to. We have our own gaylords, our own pallets, our own pallet jacks. So if you all want to have the material kind of, prepped for us, that's cool. But if not, we are able to come in and do the the entire process ourselves. So from A to Z. So, and it's no charge to you all.
Yeah, and I'll put the information about the next on dumpster day in the chat here in a sec in case anybody has because you also take things like mice and
Yeah.
keyboards and
Nice
um,
keyboard servers, server racks, the old UPS backup batteries, um, metal like people ask, do we take like the risers for laptops, anything that's metal? We take that. We'll take the filing cabinets if they're metal because we recycle that as well. Only thing we don't really take is like, which we do take at the recycling events for the community, but from businesses, we don't really take like microwaves, refrigerators,
Right.
stoves. If y'all got a good Samsung or stove or mic or refrigerator I want to give away, I'll take that myself. But other than that, we don't recycle those things. But everything else, we take ink cartridges, we take CDs, tapes, we destroy those for you. And if you all are kind of trepidatious about giving up your devices with the hard drives in them, we are NATE AAA certified, meaning that it goes through a military grade wiping process. And after that process is done, you will receive a certificate of destruction letting you know that it's been done. So, and that's at no charge to you as well.
Yeah, and I would just say, not that I had any reservations, but going to the tour, I mean, you see the facility, you had to put the bars on the windows that are like 12 feet off the ground or something. There were a lot of very stringent requirements that had to be completed before you could be certified. So, I know I saw somebody say on Facebook, they removed the hard drives. And I was just like, oh, don't do that.
Right.
Because then you
But
have
it
to
is, it is.
pay to put hard drives in devices that you could redistribute out to the community. So that just is a hit to your bottom line. So yeah, you should feel comfortable that they are wiping it 3 times. You get a certificate. It's a whole certified process. Okay, well, thanks so much, Greg, for giving us that update. I know that that we've gotten questions, and it's just good to hear directly from you all what's happening and how people can get engaged. And you, I don't know if we touched on this, but or nonprofits so often, don't have the money for new devices, and you actually can sell devices to nonprofit organizations too, right?
Correct. And that's pretty much where we like to get our community impact managers to get on a grant with them because we don't really want you all to have to come out of pocket. You can use that money for other things. So like I said, we just was able to find one client, 45, and Cleveland, they were able to get 1,500 laptops out to the school district there on a grant. So yeah, please, if you have organizations that need laptops, PCs. If one organization they wanted to make a computer lab for their kids, which they needed 40 PCs, like desktop PCs, please let us know before you go out and spend any money. We will try to see if we can get you a grant or find you some type of discounts or whatever the case may be to get you those devices. Everything is updated to Windows 11, so everything's up to date. So you don't have to worry about that as well.
And just one last question for staff use as well. An organization could buy a device from you all for staff use?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Just making sure. All right. Well, any final questions for Greg? All right. Well, thank you again. And Diona, you're up.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Diona Webb. I am the Director of Programming and Community Engagement at WeCode KC. For those of you who are not familiar with WeCode KC, we are a nonprofit organization that offers coding and tech programming to youth and young adults, I should say, as well, with an emphasis on underserved youth. We have spent the first school year this year inside of De La Salle. We've been integrated inside of that school this year. And we are on the 4th floor offering programming to students inside of De La Salle for their 5th, 6th, and 7th hour. We currently have a workforce program that I'm leading that just started. It kicked off just here and within the last couple of weeks, where it is for young adults between the ages of 18 and 26 There are 7 individuals. There's total of 20 individuals. 7 of them are in our web development program, where they're going through an 18-week cohort. They meet twice a week. These individuals will walk away with certifications in HTML and CSS. They will have portfolios that will be very impressive at the end of that program. And then in our cybersecurity program, it is a 16-week program. Those individuals meet 3 days a week, 3 evenings a week. And when they finish with their 16 weeks, they will walk away. Well, they'll have the opportunity to sit for the CompTIA Security Plus exam. And we are covering the cost of that. And so that's our workforce programming. We have put a pause on our Saturday programming for a little bit. We are working right now to get that back up here within like the next couple of months. And our Saturday program is for students that are young people, the ages of 17 on up to 17 to 26, but we generally get 17 into like 18 years old. And Saturday programming is free. It is open up to the public for the community, and there's free programming there where we offer classes on Saturday mornings from 10 until noon. And we also have robotics on that day. There'll be Python, Java, Roblox Studio. So lots of cool things. And then we are involved in the community as well. So that we've got a lot of things going on, a lot of work. We're busy, we're happy, we're excited. We've had some great success over the past year, constantly growing, adding instructors, looking for instructors. Being in the school has been a big step, and it's been rewarding, and we're learning just as much as the students are learning. Yes. Does anybody have any questions? No? Okay, good.
Well, I have one. So how does, if anybody is on the call and is like, oh, I run across young people, or how do we refer youth? That was my exact question, Dante. We're on the same page.
Same page. Okay. So I will put here, let me see. I had it teed up and ready. I've put my information, my email address in the chat. You can also go to our website, which I will put here, and it is WeCode KC.org. And it has all of our programming, what we have going on currently, and you're able to sign up. So like, for instance, our Code and Conquer, which is what the workforce program is, you can apply that way. Right now, the application is closed, but if you go on and do it, that individual will be on our waiting list, and they'll be notified for when the next cohort will begin. And the same thing like for Saturday programming, so it'll let you know what's going on and the dates and how you can get involved.
Excuse me. So this we work with refugee, and some of them, they don't have like a green card. They're legally here, but they don't have green card. What kind of documentation you ask from people, students?
So yes, we work with a third party company for accounting. To be honest with you, I cannot answer that question. I don't want to, well, let me say this. I don't want to answer that the wrong way. Mm-hmm. But if that person reached out, or if they applied for our Code and Conquer program, which brings me to something I did forget to say, it is an earn and learn program. The individuals that get in it, they receive a stipend that equates to about $1,500 over the course of the programming. They'll get $500 stipends broken up into milestones. So they'll get one like towards the beginning, one in the middle, and then one in completion. But in terms of documentation, that will be something I would have to speak with our finance team about.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. But I do know that we've had unique situations and we were able to work with them. Something else I want to share is within the school, we've also been able to collaborate with the FEC, and they have what's called an I-70 grant. And that grant is for seniors, any seniors that are getting ready to graduate. They do an internship with different organizations or companies, and we have a class full of seniors that are being paid to intern, but it has worked out to where they're working on a project inside of class. And so they are earning at the same time as well, which is really great for the population that we serve, because a lot of these young people often have to help out in their household, or they don't have resources otherwise, just for themselves to have some of their basic needs.
My
So, sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I was gonna say my niece, she's a senior, but she's homeschooled. How would she be able to like be a part of that stuff?
Be a part of that. So it is the students that are it's already started. One we've gotten started. Two, she would have to be like within our class already. So yes.
Okay.
But it's new. So it is a pilot. The goal is, we do well, then we'll be able to offer this again next year. So but you said she's a senior?
Yeah.
Yep. Well, what I would suggest is that there will be another cohort that'll be after this cohort wraps up. It'll be late spring, early summer, and there'll be another cohort that'll be starting. So I would say tell her to check our website, so that if she's interested in cybersecurity, web development, we are trying to, grow out our workforce development programming, and there'll be other options. But I would definitely tell her to look on our website and check on our next cohort and get involved with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
And JudeAnne asked, since De La Salle is in KCMO, is there anything for anyone outside of that? I'm assuming once the Saturday programming comes back, like that's open to everyone.
Yes, Saturday programs open to everyone, and the Code and Conquer, the workforce programming, it's open to everyone as well. The workforce programming is majority of that is online. So it is set up. I've designed it for young adults, for people who are working, for students who may be in college, or or it is an alternative career path that they're taking. And so those classes are held. For instance, cybersecurity is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. online. And web development is Tuesdays and Thursdays and Fridays from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And within our Code and Conquer workforce program, we also do professional development. We bring in industry professionals who like to come in and share with the individuals, not just specifically from those industries, but those who were able to come in and talk about. We have someone who helps them build resumes, helps them with their LinkedIn profiles, and any way that we can help individuals develop and get ready for the workforce. Or if they're already working, a lot of people like to get these certifications so they can scale up within the jobs that they have. So if anyone on this call likes to do any type of professional development or would like to be one of our speakers, please reach out to me. I would love, love, love to have you. And it could be just even on, your professional attire, or working with them on having an elevator pitch. I'm big on everybody having their own elevator pitch. We all have to sell ourselves, even when you're already a working professional or a leader. So we have all kind of cool ways that you can be involved.
Looks like JudeAnne's interested in coming out and.
Oh, I'd love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Do you? I mean, you don't have a crystal ball, but and Dante as well. That's great.
Good. I put my email in the chat. Would you guys please email me? Just send me a quick email and let me know that you're interested. And then I'll get some time on the books to speak with you and get you scheduled. Thank you.
And so my last question, I hope, is around like job placement, apprenticeships. Are you all doing anything, after somebody gets certified? Is there a job placement aspect, or
in full transparency, we are like many other organizations, we are working at that. In this particular cohort, I'm going to be doing for the individuals that are participating, like a small career fair that is just for them. And we'll bring in some of our partners. We do have relationships with like J.E. Dunn, Burns and Matt, Garmin, people like that, getting representatives to come in. We cannot guarantee at this time, you have to work on that. Like I said, I was listening to the gentleman earlier from PCs for People, you get at capacity, we really are in need of like a business development individual who can handle all this. Our plates are so full. And then your heart is so big, you want to be able to say, hey, you're going to graduate, you're going to get this certification, and I got a job for you. We are working on those types of relationships. So again, if anyone on this call is able to assist in that area, or we can collaborate, that would be wonderful. But we are working on that. Now, we have had some successful situations where the last cohort I had a group of college students, and they were phenomenal. They did a great job. And a few of them have internships, and they have gotten jobs. We've had run an internship I did a cohort with a group of high school students a couple of years ago. And you have students who they were at KIPP, and they didn't even think college was an option for them. They went through this cohort, and I'm proud to say 3 of them, I know for sure, 2 are in college studying cybersecurity. And then there's another young lady, she's graduating this year. She's been blessed to get a scholarship through KC Scholars, and she's going to go on and study cybersecurity. So the exposure alone has done a great job to help just change the trajectory of the way that they think in their future. You don't have to have a college degree to get a job in these fields, because what I also say, it's kind of interesting when I go out and recruit at the colleges, I tell them, you get your college degree, but when you go to get a job, they'll say, well, do you have X and Y certification? So you're kind of ahead of the curve. Then we found out the college students that are really into it, they're so excited to have the opportunity to get their certification. So it's been a learning journey for all of us. I say that all the time. I'm like, they're learning, but we're learning. And then I share this. So here's the thing. I do not know tech. I am not a techie person, but I am very good, and I have a heart for the people and making sure that they have the right opportunities, and to make sure that our programming is going well, and that they're in the right place. So just to see how lives have transformed. I've got a very unique situation right now in our cohort that just started. I did make a few exceptions of individuals who are above the age of 26. I spend time interviewing each one. When you apply, you'll get a link, automatically a reply. When you apply for the cohort, you get a link, and then it asks you to book a 15-minute interview. Well, that interview is with me, because what I have learned is, as much as you want to help everybody, and if I could save the whole community, I would, you need those who are dedicated. They have to have the buy-in. It's not an easy thing to do, and the time commitment is big. But there are a few people who are above the age of 26. I have a unique situation. There's a mother who, I won't disclose her age, but she started out as a teenage mother, and she has 7 children. And one thing that she shared was that when I was in school, they didn't offer these things to people of color. They didn't give us all these options. They gave us all these very basic, pathways. And now she's like, there's so many things and whatever. She was phenomenal. I'm like, you know what? I'm giving you this opportunity. Well, from there, now 2 of her children who are young adults, and they're in the cohort too. So we have a family of 3. I'm excited to see how this changes their lives for generations at this point after they complete this program.
Love that story. So one last thing, if anybody on the call is interested in potentially having an intern, would they just email you?
Please reach out to me. Absolutely. We are always looking to connect individuals, and we do a lot of that. We have more success in that area where we have individuals who are looking for like a one person, and that's exactly what we do. I mean, we just get them connected, do an interview, and if we work with them to get it set up, and then kind of let them soar from there. We continue to work with, we become a family. So it's like, even if they completed the cohort, they're still part of our family. We still work with them, especially if they are in an internship and they are, challenged with like, what do I do here? How do I, do that? So we do have a lot of that. So yes, if anyone is interested in an intern, I would venture to say that I have some pretty amazing young adults that would love to be at your organization or your company.
Okay, great. Thanks so much,
Yes.
Diona. We appreciate
Yes.
you making the time to be
Thank
here
you.
and
Thank you for
sharing.
having
And
me.
sounds like you're doing tons of great stuff.
Yes.
Okay, well, I wanted to just maybe move our agenda around just a little bit and give Bill Abston with the Kansas Office of Broadband Development an opportunity to give us a quick update. I know that we got an update today from NTIA, and I know Bill, you're headed to DC next week, but just thought we could slide you in here. I'm sure you're busy and maybe can listen into the net inclusion panel, but wanted to give you an opportunity to give us that update.
Okay, not much for an update on non-deployment funds. Our non-deployment funds, we're expecting an update next week, but it sounds like NTIA is delaying those, but we'll continue to advocate for those over in DC next week. We are fully funded and approved. We're running about $780 million worth of projects, about 160 projects that we're running at the current time, infrastructure, last mile, middle mile, IXP, Adopt, the DOC, or our digital inclusion, our digital opportunity programs. So we're going full speed. We're actually recruiting a new public relations manager and a new infrastructure program manager. We had a couple of people. Once we had the notice of funding that other ISPs seem to have different ideas. As you become a state employee, that sacrifice to the private sector and those kinds of things are challenges that we'll constantly face, and we'll try to make our positions as attractive as we can. But if you have 56 entities, we got the 50 states and 6 commonwealths launching the BEAD program at the same time, about $42 billion going out at the same time. So there's a big challenge on workforce development, deployment, supply chains, all those kinds of things. So we're having a real great time here at the Office of Broadband Development. Appreciate the time with you guys. Hopefully, and I told you guys that Leslie probably next week or the next digital inclusion webinar will probably have better information to give to you about the non-deployment dollars. There's about 139 million that we're attempting to make sure that stay in the state and make sure those dollars are stewarded very well for the taxpayers of Kansas, and the folks of Kansas will reap the benefit of that investment. We're in the middle of probably the largest infrastructure deployment in the history of Kansas, and we're really excited to be part of that. That's about it. If you guys have any questions, I'm more than willing to attempt to tell you that, yeah, we'll get back to you. But the office is working very hard to manage and administrate the $780 million that we're rolling out now with the 160 projects that we're rolling out. And we're having over 100,000 connections that have been realized since the deployment in 2020. So we're very positive about what we're doing and look forward to continuing our advocation and support of the digital opportunities, the digital inclusion, digital equity, whatever the new buzzwords are to keep the money flowing to those projects. Right.
So for those on the call who aren't familiar with non-deployment funds, that's the money from BEAD, the infrastructure program that as a result of reworking the final proposal was left over after all was said and done to serve all of the locations that still needed broadband, either because they were unserved or underserved, didn't meet the threshold for the definition of 100/20 for broadband.
Well, there was always non-deployment funds within the 451 million that were assigned, that were allocated to Kansas. The June 6th revision lowered or sped up and lowered the threshold based on the agnostic approach to technology. Our previous submissions would have been 70% fiber and 30% fixed wireless, with about 3% low orbit satellite. Due to the June 6th policy change notice, the agnostic nature of the scoring and the analysis of those did leave a larger portion of the $450 million non-assigned. We had 166 that were awarded out of the award funds, and then a match of 66, so allowed 222 or something like that. And that allowed up to like 139 on the non-deployment. The non-deployment was pulled back by executive order, and we're waiting on new guidance. There was an executive order that related to the state's legislature of AI. If they've kind of pulled back on that posturing of the AI, and have indicated all the funds will be coming back to the states. What we're waiting on now is to have that guidance, how we were allowed to spend it, what are the guardrails that are allowed there. So we're have a high confidence that the total amount will stay in the state. The how and what we can use it on is what we're waiting on, and we're hoping to have that next week, but it looks like it may be a little bit longer. But just as soon as we do have it, I'll come back and make sure you guys are brought up to date on it.
Yeah, well, I know I'm eagerly awaiting that guidance, and was bummed to hear that it's going to be a little bit longer, but
but we'll be making sure that we're using it to advance the closing of the digital divide, make sure that people can afford not only access but afford the networks that we're placing out there. So there's a lot of peripheral things that we need to include to make sure participation in the digital era, rather than just to deploy networks, right? So the affordability, accessibility, the training, how the people to use the things, the device deployment, the public Wi-Fi, all those things work together to bring everyone, and I mean everyone, to participate in the digital era.
this is a little inside baseball question, but do you anticipate that the funds will be administered by your office,
Yes.
or okay, because they can be given to a state agency, right?
KOBD is the eligible entity that has been assigned that allocation has been assigned to the state of Kansas through its Office of Broadband Development, and I am the authorized representative to the NTIA and NIS for the deployment of those funds. All the 450 or whatever the number is now. So the only thing that has been cut back from the initial allocation was the 8 million in the digital equity grant.
Right. That's the number I was going to ask you, just to contrast, what we were thinking with the state capacity grant was going to be 8 million, and now
it's 8 million, but we've spent on the state side on the dock and adopt kind of offset that clawback from the federal level. We've met the digital opportunity levels that we had allocated for this year, so there was no net negative effect to the overall plan. We would love to have the 8 million, but that by executive order has been clawed back.
Okay.
We continue to advocate, we continue to deploy, we continue to do those things, and we call them different things. We don't call them DEI, we call them digital opportunities, and those kinds of things to minimize, but the need is still there. The opportunities are still there, and we'll continue to advocate for those, and we'll continue to address those the best we can with the available funding that's available at any time.
Well, thanks for that update, Bill. Anybody have any questions? The bottom line is, as Bill is saying, the advocacy around affordability, this could be adoption, digital skills, those are allowable according to the law, but it's just going to depend on what is in the guidance as to how things really go. So that guidance is going to be really important to understanding, how those funds might be relevant to this group. So that's why I'm very excited to see it, and I know not nearly as excited as Bill. So
Yeah, and if any of you would like to go to our website there at the broadband office there in the Department of Commerce, the state of Kansas, and if you'd like to sign up for our industry roundtables or our newsletters, then please do, and we'd be happy to keep you guys up to date that way.
All right. Well, thanks again for being here, Bill. If you have other things to do, we welcome you to hop off, but also to stay if you'd like. So
thanks so much.
Appreciate you taking the time.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. So Al, we're gonna hop on our roundtable to just sort of talk about the Net Inclusion, which is the annual conference that National Digital Inclusion Alliance hosts every year. It was at the beginning of February. We had a few people from Kansas City attend, and we also had City of Kansas City, Missouri get an award at the conference for being a trailblazer, visionary trailblazer. Nonetheless. So I'm going to hand it over to Leah. And so thank you so much, Diona. And we'll get on this.
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Leah Hendrickson. I am program coordinator here at KC Digital Drive. I will be moderating this net inclusion panel. As Leslie said, this is some of the folks who were able to attend from Kansas City. There's a few other folks who were there who are not in attendance. But for the folks who are in the panel, they are Leslie and Aaron with KC Digital Drive, JudeAnne Heath with HTTP, Tom Esselman with DPO-KC, and John Tramel with Health Forward. So I would love to just sort of go down the list of questions. And if you have any other questions for our panelists, I will be able to provide space for that at the end. But I'd love to go around the room now first. And if you can introduce your name, organization, share if you've been to any other net inclusions, and what was your main reason for attending this conference. I'd love to start with, let's go with JudeAnne first.
Hi, my name is JudeAnne Heath. I'm Executive Director of Hispanic Tech and Telecommunications Partnerships, and we've been a national org for 30 years that work with other national Latino civil rights organizations at the intersection of grassroots, industry, and policymakers to ensure the Latino voice is heard when it comes to tech and telecom policy. This was my first NDIA Net Inclusion. I am in Kansas. I'm Kansas born and raised. I'm a Kansas City girly, even though we do a lot of DC work. But this was my first Net Inclusion, and it was, I went because we submitted a panel, and we got to host a panel, and and a lot of my friends from DC and other places were going, and I was glad to go, and I love Chicago. That was another reason why I went. Even though it was February in Chicago, I said, yes, I will attempt to do this.
Yes, for sure. Thank you. I'd love to turn it over to Tom Esselman now.
All right. Thanks, Leah. Hi, everybody. I'm Tom Esselman with DPO-KC. This was the 8th conference I've attended going back to 2016. I always enjoy attending just for seeing face-to-face other colleagues who I've been working with and who I know are doing work in their communities around the country. And I was able to do a session on device distribution, given my past history in that space. And I have some comments about the most impactful session, which ironically was my least favorite, but I'm just going to tease you with that and we'll come back to it.
Great. And do you want to introduce your organization as well?
Oh, sure. DPO-KC is the Digital Program Office of Greater Kansas City. It was originally started 2 years ago on the premise that we were going to be getting the Digital Equity Act federal grants. And when those got canceled by the current administration, I shifted the tone of my work to focus, number one, on advocating, mainly educating lawmakers on legislation that's going through. And I do that mostly working with a group called Shelby, which is the Schools, Hospitals, Libraries, Broadband Coalition. In fact, I will be in DC next week as well for a congressional fly-in, visiting with about 12 different congressional leaders, advocating on everything from legislation that could affect things like the non-deployment funds we were just talking about and the Universal Service Fund reform, things that have to do with E-rate funding for libraries and schools and other things like that. And I also shifted my focus to provide assistance to mostly smaller nonprofits in the area who oftentimes lack the connections or the capacity or both to get funding and to just get the resources that they need. So that's kind of what I've been focusing on. And like I said, going to the annual conference is always good for me, mainly because, in fact, my favorite types of sessions, and it's not really a workshop, but the sessions I like the best are what they call lightning rounds, which is kind of similar to what we got to do this morning with a couple of the newer members on this call, where different organizations from around the country get 3 or 4 minutes just to talk about what they do and what their outcomes are and what their impact is. And I find that really helpful when you see the broad range of different types of organizations and the things that they focus on, whether it's education related or healthcare related or housing related, or all the different impacts that come from having, affordable internet and devices. So I always find it very refreshing. But like I said, I'm going to come back and share with you a few things that left me disappointed. But we'll do that as maybe next set of questions.
Thanks, Tom. All right, let's turn it over to John Tramel now.
Good morning, everyone. I apologize for I'm going to be a little wonky on this because I was on my computer, my internet crashed, I got back on, and anyway, now I'm on my phone. So it's just, I feel virtual world, these type of Zoom things, I prefer in person for this type of thing. But anyway, I'm going to do my best here as I'm on my phone. So yeah, John Tramel with the Health Forward Foundation, stationed here in Kansas City. I'm an impact strategist with the Place Purpose team. And first, I'm assuming many people on the call know Health Forward, know at least some about the organization, but I will start by just, describing our mission, because I believe, centering around really what we ultimately seek to accomplish with the work we do at Health Forward is vital to really start with. And so our mission is to build and support inclusive, powerful, and healthy communities characterized by racial equity and economically just systems. And really that is vital for the work we do. When we use the word digital equity, we really mean that our work will advance equity across the board. And so the Place Purpose area is a newer purpose area for Health Forward. It's been around for about 3.5, 4 years now. I'm new in the sense that I've been here about a year at Health Forward, so I'm just kind of still getting my feet wet, learning the ropes in the organization. But our focus area, the Place area, focuses on affordable housing, home ownership, both creating and preserving affordable housing and home ownership, as well as advancing digital equity across our communities of focus. Once again, the communities we prioritize are Black, Brown, and rural communities, those that have experienced systemic inequality, systemic barriers, access, to opportunity, and we seek to to right those systemic wrongs with the ways in which we operate day in and day out. And so, just really excited to be here and share more with you all here in a moment.
Yeah. And not to speak for you, John, but you and Adriana were able to go this year, and it was your first net inclusion, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And just to mention, my colleague Adriana Pacina really was hoping to be here this morning with us, but had a family situation she needed to respond to. So she was at the last minute not able to be here. But that was my first. I think Adriana has attended two. She went last year in Phoenix. And so, as a foundation, we are, it's our desire to, grow our commitment to this ecosystem of digital equity. So we're excited to continue to be in partnership with you all.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, John. I will pass it over to Aaron next if you're able to speak.
Yeah, thanks, Leah. Aaron Deacon with KC Digital Drive. Just would add a couple things kind of, in terms of some of the other folks from Kansas City, I think, that we had invited but weren't able to make the panel. Jeremy Higley from the Fed, Carrie Coogan, who's with the library, and I believe is still on the Shelby board. Mayor Pro Tem Brana Park Shaw and Kansas City Councilwoman was there to accept the award for Kansas City. Peter Arvanatakis on our team, along with the three of us. I don't know if there's anybody else, but I just say that because part of what we are hoping to do with this is just bring like connectivity between the Kansas City Metro and the national community of practice, which we do in a lot of ways. But there's, not everyone can go to net inclusion. We understand that there may not be enough value for, any organization. But we certainly want to do as good a job as we can. On the Digital Drive team, I think, Tom Esselman is another good resource for this in terms of how do we bridge our local ecosystem. If there's connections that you want, if there's content that you're looking for, if there's things that you want to know that happened there, we want to make sure that we kind of keep that open, both with net inclusion itself, but also with the broader NDIA community, with the Shelby community that Tom does a lot of work with. We just think the stronger those connections are, the better off we all are. So want to provide that context too. Thanks.
Oh, for sure. And fun fact about net inclusions, the very first conference happened in Kansas City. So fun fact for you there. And Leslie, last but certainly not least.
Yes. So as I mentioned, I'm the Digital Inclusion Program Manager at KC Digital Drive. I think I've been to most of them. I moderated a panel at the very first one and have participated in various panels. I was off the hook for this one, which was kind of nice. Enabled me to just focus on learning. So that's my deal. And Aaron already really talked about why I was able to go.
For sure. Thank you. All right, let's jump to the next round of questions, which sort of lumping in whatever you want to answer for these questions, but I'd love to hear what your favorite workshop was, if there's anything that surprised you, and you could even talk about the workshop that you participated in. It sounds like a few of those were able to do their own. I'd love to start with John this time.
All right. Thank you, Leah. Yeah, so Tom Esselman mentioned earlier, like some of the unique structure of the conference, which, being my first time at Net Inclusion, it was the first time I'd experienced kind of the specific way that NDIA structures their conference. And I found it really wonderful. I mean, I think having not just your standard workshop kind of format, doing some unique opportunities for organizations to present, for folks to sort of lead discussions on things they really care about and maybe they're specifically focused on. Those are all really interesting aspects of the conference that, really I enjoyed a lot. So in that light, there's a kind of section of conversations that they allow to be hosted as usually like the last workshop period for each day, and it's called Birds of a Feather. And basically, individuals, organizations can raise their hand to host a conversation, a discussion around a particular topic. So it's not your typical format where there's presenters who share information and then you get 5 minutes at the end to ask some questions. It's really a very open discussion, dialogue around a particular issue, a situation, maybe a program or service that's new to the community, and just people brainstorming and be innovating with each other on ways they can advance kind of that topic. And so I had the opportunity to attend one on it was serving immigrant and refugee families, and it was the kind of looking at home models that have been successful, and really within the context of our current political environment where our immigrant and refugee neighbors are afraid to leave their home for good reason, because they are being terrorized on the streets in certain places, and we know that Kansas City might be a place where that could happen. It's happening on a small scale now, but not in the ways it is in Minnesota or has been in Chicago as well, other cities, Los Angeles, Charlotte, and so we always have to be prepared and ready to support our neighbors and our community members who might be living in fear, might be not feeling able to move about in the way that they should be able to. And so that was a really powerful conversation. It wasn't like we left that conversation with a roadmap of exactly what needs to happen in these moments, but folks bouncing ideas off of each other. Like just one quick example, some folks from Minneapolis were talking about how there's been some meal support, folks doing meal support. So people delivering food and meals to immigrant and refugee families in their homes, so they wouldn't have to leave to go to the grocery store and those sort of things. And they coupled some digital equity support with that by having folks deliver devices with the food, so that if families did not have a device, so they could use that device, connect to hotspots. And then, like if there's a student who was in school, but they haven't been able to attend, that allowed them to reconnect with their educational opportunity, so as not to fall behind, maybe also work. So folks can work remotely or find opportunities to do that, or just be connected civically, communally with their neighbors, their friends. So all those things that, we take for granted when we're not the target of something like this, that there's people right now, our neighbors, our friends who feel trapped in their homes. It's almost like COVID hit a specific population of people, but unfortunately it's intentional, and it's not a health pandemic. And so how do we in this community be ready to support our neighbors and those around us in this type of environment? And so that to me was just really powerful. And then the structure of it, right, that we were able to go there together and bounce ideas off of each other. No one was sort of speaking at the group, that everyone had something to offer. So there was a lot of great ideas from different folks from Chicago, from New York, from other communities who have experience and have done some things in this kind of environment. And so that just was really powerful. And I think there'll probably be a time in the near future where we might need to have more conversation about this particular topic. But I'll stop there.
For sure. Thanks for sharing, John. It sounds like Birds of a Feather is a great way to sort of advance conversations that are just meeting the moment. So thank you for sharing that. I would love to continue on with Tom. You alluded to your workshop you want to talk about.
Yeah, I was really pleased to get to do a workshop with Human IT, which is kind of the West Coast version of a large-scale e-waste recycler and computer refurbisher, and a couple others who have been, really involved in this space. E2D from Charlotte, North Carolina, they were also on that panel. Great examples of how communities come together around a strategy for devices, both, how to maximize donations as well as distribution back out to the community. So it was refreshing to have a chance to do that work. And I also enjoyed just like I said, the lightning rounds, getting a chance to hear from different groups around the country, large and small. That's always really invigorating to me. And so, as you mentioned, Leah, the very first one of these conferences took place in Kansas City. In fact, it was kind of inspired by the work happening in the Kansas City community at that time. And subsequent to that, we went to St. Paul and then Cleveland and then Charlotte and then Portland. And there was a year off for COVID, and there was a year in San Antonio I did not get to go to. And then, Philadelphia and Phoenix and Chicago. So, places around the country where we get to see other local groups, kind of like we get to hear from each month in this call. So for me, that's my favorite reason for going. And the fact that I could spend some time on a panel talking about devices and working within the community on a device strategy is something that's kind of near and dear to my heart. And that part of it made me happy, and it made me feel like I was reconnecting and getting re-energized. Like I said, I'm going to come back to the last round of questions because I think the tone and the message of the conference, I was hoping it was going to be different, but let me leave that hanging and we'll come back to it.
Sounds good. Another cliffhanger. I'm going to pass it to Leslie next.
Yeah, so I on the NDIA Affiliate Plus call yesterday, they were talking about being scrappy but classy, and I think that the panel on sustainability, in May when we had the conference in Arizona, people were reeling from the Digital Equity Act getting yanked away. The prior year, it was the Affordable Connectivity Program. So there's been a lot of feelings associated with the timing of these conferences. And I think that this one finally was sort of in a place of kind of brass tacks and trying to move forward a bit. And we had a big influx of hope around the money from the Digital Equity Act, and then the pin in that balloon. But I think people are kind of somewhat in a place of focusing on other kinds of reframing the digital inclusion conversation so that it connects with other kinds of areas like health and workforce and education and those sorts of things, but also around partnerships and collaborations. So my favorite workshop was the one that I went to around sustainability and just the tools that they gave us. They provide us with some worksheets and ways to sort of think about how to present the value proposition of supporting digital inclusion work. So that was something that I thought was a good, tangible takeaway from attending the conference, and something I think that we could put into practice as an organization. At least to go through the exercise and get our brains kind of thinking a little bit differently, and then potentially, even helping to lead some of those workshops locally could be beneficial to be thinking about, how to support the work without having to rely on these big federal grants.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, I will second one thing, which is I haven't been to that many national conferences, but I think this one does a really good job of, making sure there's notes for every workshop, and generally the takeaways are linked in there, so you can kind of bring that back pretty easily after you attend the panel. I'm going to pass it to JudeAnne now.
Thank you, guys. Probably, my favorite panel I'm gonna say my own. We did a panel on it's called Cultivating Connections, Farmers, Digital Equity, and Telehealth. And our panel included a researcher and program coordinator from North Carolina, as well as at Illinois, the executive director of farm workers, landscapers, advocacy project in Illinois and Chicago, and from Hispanic Federation, director of workforce programs as well. And just kind of talking about, as you all know, connectivity is a social determinant of health and future access to, everything in our life, and specifically how farmers and agricultural workers face these unique barriers. What I liked about what we presented was kind of, there were roundabout ways that they were able to work with healthcare workers, with USDA grants, with other types of funding and trusted messengers that really were able to kind of reach migrant workers and agricultural workers where they are, and obviously highlighting a lot of the challenges that we know, but in a very unique way of, housing and mapping and rules and employees, and, how this is not only just connectivity, but it's also like if there is a national emergency, and, still the need for cultural, bilingual, multilingual resources. So for me, that was really helpful. And I really enjoyed when all of my DC friends were like, oh, I learned something new from this. So I think that's, another great thing about NDIA is, you think you can't learn anything new, but you really can, especially from all of the people across the country doing some really good work. And I'd say not that that's surprising, but that's just always a nice thing to hear and nice thing to know, and kind of echoing like what Tom and John said in terms of even if some of the conversations are, just the moment in which we are seem to be heavy, but they're necessary, and gives you hope to see, hearing from people in Minnesota or hearing from other people, like here's what we're doing. Here's some inspiration, and maybe, maybe this will apply in different scenarios, maybe it won't, but I think that was also something that is great about this particular conference as well. And I think everyone there has such really good intentions and really does do good work, just like everyone here on the call does, and seeing it on a national level as well.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. All right, Aaron, you're the last one.
Yeah, thanks. So we'll say I was on a panel that the North Texas Innovation Alliance convened around sort of one-size-fits-all programming versus how you tailor to different communities or populations, which I think was a good fit with a lot of the work that we've been doing with the Digital Life Exchange. I think it was sort of highlighted, as Tom said, how much of the work in the field has kind of a leadership position in Kansas City. I would also, there's another panel on kind of healthcare that was with Mass General and some of the Western Massachusetts Broadband Alliance folks, and Amy Sheehan from Cleveland, who's kind of a regular on the intersection of digital inclusion and health. But again, was kind of struck by how much of the health conversations that are happening there are similar to ones we've had here. It's just always good when you feel like, oh, we're not really that far behind, and in a lot of places where we're leading. Thinking of the work that John Fitzpatrick is doing around community health workers and social determinants of health, and teaching people how to access their health records and things like that, or working with community partners to do that. So, but I will say, and I forgot about this when we had our prep call, my favorite session was something. It was a pretty wonky one. That was the Telecom Act of 1966, or 1996 at 30. The moderator was great. It was Caroline Stratton from Benton Institute, Christopher Ali, who's a professor, Chris Lewis from Public Knowledge. Just kind of dug into a lot of the intricacies of that bill and how it manifests in current policy, which again, pretty wonky, but I found fascinating, partly because I don't know that much about it. So it's interesting that a lot of the like digital inclusion, stuff that is closer to the day to day feels kind of like, oh, here I am with my peers who are like wrestling with the same things that I'm wrestling with. And this one was a bit more like, gosh, I don't even really know what's in the Telecom Act besides, all the net neutrality conversations, which you hear about a lot. So that I thought was fun. And there are some pretty relevant policy things in terms of, the Universal Service Fund and E-rate and, even getting into things like the Digital Millennium Copyright Act and some other legislative things that kind of come up in that conversation. So we don't do a lot of that sort of policy conversation or convening on a local level. That was kind of the other thing that got me thinking, like, is there an audience for that? I don't know for sure that it's the people at this meeting, but maybe. So would kind of throw that out. I mean, I think it's something would be interesting to pursue if there is an audience. And happy to talk more about some of the particulars, but I really enjoyed that panel.
Thank you. All right, you all, we got a rapid fire, this last question. So I just want to lump it into one and just say, is there anything that you want to share from the KC community locally about what you learned and or just one key takeaway? And you get 1 minute each. Got to make it quick. And I'm going to start with Tom. I believe in you. You can go very fast. You can do it.
Thanks, Leah. So the session I mentioned was a lunchtime plenary with the executive director of the NDIA and one of the current FCC commissioners. There's only 3. And I was hoping for it to be a little bit of encouragement in the face of, lack of federal funding, but it came across as very negative and a real downer, which was really disappointing to me because, as we've already talked about, if you go back to the history of the NDIA, starting in Kansas City in 2015 and 16, I mean, there was no outward government support for this work. And there was, even as Leslie mentioned, it was very scrappy work and it was very community focused. And that's what made the NDIA such a powerful organization. And then, of course, with COVID and all the federal money that started hitting our communities over the last 5 or 6 years, that session made it look like they were almost not as powerful because they weren't getting federal funding. Now, granted, obviously funding helps a lot, but I think the takeaway for me and what I would want the Kansas City community to know is we've always been great at focusing on our community. We got to keep that focus. We got to be scrappy. We got to focus on the work, the outcomes, and the impact. And I was kind of hoping that their message would be about more adapting rather than, resisting the current administration. But, we have to do both, but we have to focus on what we do locally and how we work with each other to make really good things happen. So, thank you.
Perfect. If you have any announcements, please feel free to drop them in the chat while we're wrapping up. But I'm going to turn it over to Aaron next. Just a quick key takeaway.
Yeah, I would second what Tom said. I think it's interesting. We've seen all these waves over 10 or 15 years, or even before, going back to BTOP, which is before I really got too involved. But you think about things like Connect Home, people get really excited about big federal waves of interest, and there's so much energy that goes into them. And I think that it is important. I think that we've always done a good job of trying to keep locally focused, of keeping the initiative going, of not trying to get distracted by big shiny objects, as compelling and important as they might be and worthwhile to pursue in some respects. But yeah, I think that was a great point.
Yeah, thank you. All right, JudeAnne, you're up. Last final thoughts.
No, I agree too with what Tom and Aaron said. And I would also say that, there are some things that you may think, a lot of the things that we are still have always worked on are still mattering. So like concept of bridging the digital divide, the concept of having, you know, things in multiple languages, just the basics of needing devices, like none of those things, or just even having basic connectivity, none of those changes in this day and age. None of that, regardless of federal funding, regardless of AI or any other emerging technology. I think the through line that we hear from across the board from people doing the work is that the mission and the values of everyone being connected to improve their daily life at a basic level is still there. And the way we do that is in community with one another. The way we do that is meeting people where they're at and the languages they're at and the needs that they have. And yeah, and in Kansas City, still, I agree, which is why I, you know, even though I do a lot of DC work, I love being in KC. I love being from KC, is that we know how to take care of each other and be in community with another, and to continue to do that.
Thank you. All right, John, take it away. And then Leslie, you'll wrap us up.
All right, thank you so much. Yeah, and I will amen JudeAnne. We're all giving each other kudos, but I definitely appreciate what you just said. And I think for me, one of the takeaways was just the fact that, you know, so many people still who operate very easily in the digital world don't realize those that don't. There's still stories that need to be shared. There's still data that needs to be presented in ways that are compelling to help people understand that, like, there's still a divide. There's still a lot of people who are behind, who don't have access, who aren't able to take advantage of the opportunities that are available through technology. And there are folks on the ground, many of you and others, working day in and day out to overcome that divide. And there's great stories to be told. As Tom mentioned, there is hope. There are successes. There are things that we can share that can inspire us and let us know that great things are happening. And so how do we tell those stories? How do we utilize the data that we are collecting, or collect data, maybe if we're not collecting it as significantly as we could be, to be able to help people understand, those that maybe aren't paying attention or don't realize this issue is still significant. And it's also helping people understand the ways that digital equity and access are interrelated and connected to all the sectors in our community. It is a standalone issue that deserves its own spotlight, and it is woven into the fabric of education, of workforce, of health, housing, language access, people's ability to just immigrate here and have a good life, all those things, right? And so being able to thread that needle of the sort of the interconnectedness and the standalone importance of digital equity. So thank you.
Thanks, John. All right, Leslie, take it away.
Well, I mean, I think it's pretty much all been said. I think that you know, we had I don't remember, maybe 1,500, 1,700 attendees last year. It was 700 or so this year. And you know, it's really, there was a big influx because of money, and then when the money went away, then you know, here we go again, we contracted again, and I think who's left is you know, who's really trying to keep a foothold on the work. I think my last question to the group might be to take the floor and to ask, is there anyone on the call who wanted to go to the conference or considered going to the conference, but funding was just the barrier? You can just raise your hand if that's the case, or just email me if that's more comfortable.
I think there were some city staff who were interested. I don't know about anyone else.
Yeah. Anyway, I would love them, you know, if there is anyone who is either reflecting on our reflections, or you know, was kind of considering going, and maybe the cost was just the issue, let us know. A couple of things in the chat. One is a health related. So there's a big rural health transformation grant program. All the states got money, and John Fitzpatrick has an event, and Leah put information about the Train the Trainer that Carol is hosting. So if you were ever interested in, either upping your skills or diving into digital skills training, that's a great 2-part session to get you going on that. And with that, we're at time. So thank you, everyone, and have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Bye.